A simple woman knocked on the wrong hotel door. What happens next will haunt you forever. Madeline stepped into the dimly lit hallway of the old hotel, a chill creeping up her spine. She had been drawn here, compelled by a whisper of fate. The brass doorknob gleamed ominously as she approached room 317. Her heart raced, a drum echoing in her ears. There was something unsettling about this place, a silence that felt heavy, like the air before a storm. She hesitated. Why was she here? Was it merely coincidence or something far more sinister? The hotel reeked of mildew and forgotten memories. Flickering lights cast eerie shadows, and the wallpaper peeled like scabs on old wounds. Each step felt like she was crossing into a different world, where each door held secrets yearning to be unleashed. She lingered, her fingers brushing against the smooth, cold surface of the wood. You could almost hear whispers, soft and pleading, curling around her like smoke. Goosebumps erupted on her arms as she rolled her shoulders back, forcing her mind to shake off the creeping fear that pooled in her gut. Then, her breath caught in her throat. Just a few feet away, she saw it. The door to room 318 was slightly ajar, revealing a dusty glimpse inside. There were shapes moving, shadows flitting across the room. A chill swept around her, gripping her heart with vice-like fingers. She took a step back, adrenaline flooding her system. What was going on behind that door? A party? A gathering of secrets? Or something darker? In the distance, a loud crash shattered the silence, and she flinched. The sound rippled through the halls, making her blood run cold. There was something undeniably wrong. But curiosity gnawed at her. Feeling her mind racing, she reached for the doorknob, her decision made in a heartbeat. Were the lives of the people inside tangled in something dangerous? Had they called for help? Before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. Madeline pushed the door open just enough to peek inside. Her breath hitched again as her eyes adjusted to the dim light. A figure sat hunched over in the corner, their back to her, like a shadow seeping into the walls. The air felt thick, charged with anxiety and dread. "Is anyone in there?" she called, her voice trembling. No answer. Just the soft scuffle of movement, like something being dragged across the floor. Tension pulsed in the air, and her instinct screamed at her to flee. But something deep inside urged her forward, the ache of curiosity pulling at her heart. Her hands felt clammy, but she stepped inside completely, crossing that invisible line between safe and unknown. What she discovered next would change everything for her and for anyone who dared to come looking for her. Who was in that room, and what power held them captive? The haunting mystery hung in the air, thick as fog. Madeline took another cautious step inside the room, heart pounding against her ribs. The figure remained turned away, shrouded in shadow, and the unsettling sound echoed again, whispers growing louder, almost urgent. She strained to make sense of the scene, her instincts battling with her curiosity. "Hello?" she called out again, her voice trembling as she fought the urge to flee back down the corridor. The air here was sticky, heavy with the scent of dust and something metallic that made her mouth go dry. As she edged closer, the figure stirred. It was a woman, her hair disheveled, arms wrapped around her knees as if to shield herself from an unseen threat. "Please," the woman croaked, her voice a fragile whisper. "Get out, you shouldn't be here." Madeline's mind raced. Was this woman in danger? The shadows around her danced wildly, and she took another step forward, compelled by an unshakable need to help. "What is happening? Are you okay?" The woman shook her head, her eyes wide and hollow, reflecting fear that instantly sent tremors down Madeline's spine. Her voice broke. "They won't let me go." Without a second thought, Madeline knelt beside her, ignoring the creeping fear that gnawed at her. Who won't he let you go? What do you mean? A crash from the far side of the room jolted her. An object splintered against the wall, the noise ricocheting through the air like an unspent bullet. The woman flinched, her gaze darting toward the source. You need to leave. Now. Madeline's pulse raced. She grabbed the woman's arm, intending to pull her up. We can get out of here together. But the moment she touched her, the woman recoiled as if burned, a visceral fear in her eyes. Don't. If they see you. Before she could finish, a loud thud echoed from outside the room, rattling the door. Madeline's heart raced as she glanced toward the noise. Her breath quickened, the fear surged within her, hot and clamorous. Were they coming for them? She could practically feel the cold grip of dread tightening around her throat. Who is they? Madeline pressed, desperation seeping into her voice. How can I help? Suddenly, the door swung open further. A figure loomed in the doorway, backlit by the flickering overhead light. Shadows swallowed everything around them, making it impossible to see their face. A chill raced through Madeline, rooted to the spot, the air leaving her lungs. The figure stepped inside, a dark silhouette against the muted light, and she felt the panic rise, a tangible force tightening her chest. Look what we have here, the figure said, their voice smooth yet dripping with malice. Another curious soul, Just what we need. Fear clawed at her insides, and Madeline turned slowly, meeting the wild, fearful eyes of the woman beside her. The plea for safety reflected in her gaze held all the weight of 1,000 unspoken words. What darkness lurked here? Madeline's eyes darted between the figure and the woman, a decision boiling in her gut. Could she escape? Or would she be trapped like the woman forever? Pulled into the horror of room 318, the figure stepped closer, and the woman's whisper chilled her blood. Whatever you do, don't trust them. Just then, the lights flickered violently, plunging the room into darkness. A scream pierced the silence, and everything spiraled into chaos. Madeline could only wonder, would she even survive long enough to uncover the truth, or was she about to become just another lost soul in the haunting story of this dreadful hotel? Madeline felt the world around her slip away in the thick blackness. Sounds echoed, chaotically scuffling feet, muffled breaths, her own heartbeat pounding in her ears like a war drum. She grasped for the woman beside her, but the figure was gone. Fear twisted her stomach as the shadows thrashed and writhed. Stay close! She shouted, her voice barely above a whisper, trembling as she reached for emptiness. Suddenly, a flicker returned to the lights, but not enough to chase away the encroaching terror. The figure, still vaguely obscured, moved silently through the swirling shadows. Madeline's instinct screamed for her to flee, but she couldn't leave the woman behind. Panic surged, the absence of her presence felt like an airless void. Where are you? Madeline cried, her voice shaking. I'm not leaving you. Behind her, another loud crash rattled the air. The light steadied, revealing the jagged remnants of a broken chair at the foot of the door. A sliver of pale moonlight filtered through the dim room, casting eerie shapes on the walls. Madeline! The voice pierced through the darkness. It was thick with despair and urgency, but also fear. You need to run. The figure stepped back into the light, revealing itself to be a young man, eyes wide, face pale, drenched in sweat. He reached out, but Madeline wouldn't let herself get distracted. Who are you? Where is the woman? She demanded, her pulse quickening. Leave her. You have to get out now. He shouted, desperation crackling in the air like static. They'll find you. Find me? Her heart raced as certainty hit her like a cold tide. They were not just random threats, they were here to trap her, just as they had the woman. What is happening? Who are they? The boy hesitated, scanning the room as if expecting something or someone to leap from the shadows. I don't know, but they've taken over this hotel. The lights flickered again, dimming, plunging them into a momentary abyss. Madeline felt a chill crawl down her back, palpable and heavy. She sensed movement, and something cold gripped her wrist. Madeline! Her stomach dropped as she turned to see the woman, the same wild-eyed, trembling figure clutching her wrist in terror. Please, we need to go. Without thinking, Madeline squeezed the woman's hand, trying to convey comfort. Come on. We can make it together. But just as they articulated their escape, the darkness erupted. A surge of intensity gripped the room, the sudden presence of a third figure emerging from deep shadows. This one was larger, more imposing, and the air seemed to snarl around him. You think you can just leave? The figure growled, a sneer distorting his harsh features, the very embodiment of malice. Madeline's breath caught in her throat. Before she reacted, the walls vibrated with a deep, resonating growl, an impossible sound that felt like it marinated in hatred. The shadows twisted, drawing closer, almost as if alive, hungry. The woman's grip tightened. They're here. They will. A sudden lurch from the boy interrupted. He pushed against Madeline, urging her toward the door. Go. I'll hold them off. No. She screamed, panic seizing her instincts. She couldn't just leave him. The visceral dilemma clawed at her heart. But the moment hung heavy between the impulse to save herself and the duty to help others. Would either choice land her deeper in this nightmare? The boy turned back, eyes fierce. I can't take this anymore. Get out. Please. The woman whimpered, pulling Madeline onwards, desperation lacing her every breath. Before she could comprehend their fate, they stumbled towards the door, the shadows on their tails. Would they escape the nightmare, or would their last reckless choice seal their fates as yet another haunting tale lost within the cursed walls of the hotel? The door teetered before them, a choice looming large. Go! Echoed the urgency from behind. And from the depths of nothingness, they heard it, a loud, haunting wail, rising like a chorus of misery. Madeline froze. Was it too late to turn back? Did leaving this room mean entering something worse? As she cast one last glance behind her, the shadows coiled ominously, and those chilling whispers wrapped around her like a noose. What lay beyond that door might not be salvation. It could be even worse than what awaited them here. Madeline's heart raced as she stood frozen, the decision weighing like a heavy stone in her chest. The shadows writhed closer, their dark fingers scraping along the walls, hungry for the warmth of life. She could feel the woman's grip tighten beside her, a silent plea for action. Madeline! The urgency in the woman's voice sliced through the confusion like a blade. We have to go. Now! With the sense of impending disaster screaming in her mind, she finally wrenched her gaze from the menacing figure looming in the back of the room. She could feel their breath on her neck, a pit of dread unraveling in her stomach. What if we go back? She pleaded. Maybe we can help him. The woman shook her head violently, wild and panicked. There's no time. They won't give us another chance. Drawing on every ounce of courage, Madeline forced herself to move, dragging the woman with her towards the door. The soft squeak of their shoes against the floor echoed ominously, melding with the growl that now filled the space, vibrating through her bones. Behind them, the boy's voice rang out. Don't let them take you. Run! Madeline's resolve hardened. They burst through the door just as a cacophony erupted behind them, the sound of splintering wood and howls of fury flooding the air. She stumbled into a dimly lit hallway, illuminated only by flickering fluorescent lights that hummed with a strange malevolence. The patterned carpet beneath them felt sticky, each step threatening to drag them back into whatever hell they had just escaped. Which way? She gasped, panting as she tried to catch her breath. The woman glanced left, then right, fear skimming across her features. I don't know. Anywhere but here. Madeline's mind raced at the options, but the endless corridor before them only seemed to stretch into darkness. Every way she looked felt like a trap. Why are we here? What's chasing us? Their creatures' shadows made flesh, the woman murmured, her voice barely above a whisper. They want to capture you, to take your light away. We have to hurry. The words hit Madeline like ice water. Creatures? What do you mean? But there was no time for explanations. Behind them, a series of loud thuds resonated, growing louder, closer. The shadows seemed to spill from the very walls, slithering across the floor, hungry and full of intent. Madeline turned to the woman. What if we can find an exit? What if we can get to the front? Do you want to risk it? The woman's eyes were wide with apprehension. Anything is better than getting trapped in here, Madeline declared. The instinct to survive surged within her, overpowering all doubt. They sprinted down the hallway, the lights above them flickering dangerously. With every stride, desperation pushed them forward. A door appeared further down, its brass handle glinting with the promise of escape. "Madeline!" The woman called, urgency scorching her voice. "It's there!" They barreled towards it, hands reaching out to the cold metal. Just as Madeline grasped the handle, a blood-curdling scream rippled through the air, clear, chilling, and full of terror. The boy's voice echoed in her ears like a death knell. Madeline hesitated, looking back in horror. He was standing there, a mere silhouette against the teeming darkness, facing the advancing shadows. The space crackled with dread, and she could almost see his soul battling against the encroaching void. "Go! Save yourselves!" he shouted, his eyes wide and pleading. Madeline's heart twisted. The urge to rush back clashed against the instinct to flee. In that heartbeat, she spotted the swarming shadows engulfing him, like black ink spilling over a page. "Madeline!" The woman's voice broke through her thoughts, urging her to act. "Now! We have to go!" Madeline's pulse thundered in her ears. As she turned to run, guilt gnawed at her momentum. Every step away from him felt like a betrayal. But the door swung open, revealing a cold, chaotic brightness beyond. It beckoned, a promise of freedom mixed with the stark fear of the unknown. With one last glance back at the boy, his desperate gaze locked on her, she leapt through the threshold, the sound of that final anguished scream fading behind her like a ghostly echo. As they stumbled outside, the door slammed shut behind them, leaving a thick silence woven with terror in their wake. The woman turned to her, shivering slightly. What did we just escape from?" Madeline hesitated, glancing around at the strange, moonlit street. Everything appeared normal but felt profoundly wrong. "I don't know." Before she could finish her thought, a shadow moved at the edge of her vision, slinking past the lamplight. They weren't out of danger yet. As the world pressed around them, something told Madeline they had only begun to scratch the surface of this darkness. What if there's no escape at all?" she whispered uneasily, fear twisted in her gut as the moonlit street suddenly went dark. What awaited them in this new world of night? Madeline's breath caught in her throat as the darkness enveloped them, swallowing the streetlight's halo whole. It felt alive, a viscous entity that pulsed with hunger. The woman beside her trembled, her wide eyes darting, searching for an enemy that could ambush them from any corner. "Keep moving!" the woman hissed, jerking Madeline forward. They stumbled down an alley, the walls flanking them like silent sentinels, cold graffiti creeping along the brick like the very shadows they feared. They paused, the stillness almost a mockery. Madeline leaned back against the damp wall, heart racing. "What now? Where do we go?" Her voice trembled, almost swallowed by the thick air. "Feel that," the woman whispered. Madeline strained to hear. The faintest of whispers, like 1,000 secrets being shared just beyond the veil of night. "We need to find shelter," the woman insisted. "A place to hide until we can figure this out." Madeline's head swiveled, panic closing around her throat. What if they're already here? Just then, a rustling erupted in the shadows to their left. They both jumped, the sound slithering through the silence like a venomous snake. Madeline could feel the presence bearing down on them, the weight of unseen eyes. "Run!" the woman commanded, launching herself into the dimness ahead. Madeline followed, the uncertainty gnawing at her insides. They darted deeper into the labyrinth of alleys, each turn an abyss filled with echoes of their pounding hearts. "Where do we even hide?" Madeline shouted, adrenaline coursing through her veins. "Any place, just keep moving," came the desperate reply. The alley twisted sharply, opening to a small square. A forgotten fountain stood at its center, stone and cracked, a crown of weeds sprouting from the basin. In the moonlight, it glimmered eerily. "Over there!" The woman pointed at a doorway off to the side, its frame shrouded in slapdash curtains that fluttered like skeletal fingers. As they raced towards it, Madeline glanced over her shoulder. The whispers grew louder, swirling and laughing, as if the shadows were mocking her fear. She felt the pulse of something dark behind her, an unseen force urging her to turn. Madeline! The woman yanked her inside just as the air turned icy. The door slammed shut, sealing them in a cramped storage room barely lit by a single bulb swaying overhead. Madeline leaned against the door, heart pounding. What are those things? She managed between gasps. Why do they want us? Their hunger, it's insatiable. They latch onto what they cannot have, the woman said, her voice steadied but filled with dread. And you shine like a beacon. Like a beacon? Madeline echoed, a knot forming in her stomach. But I'm not special. They see light and want it for themselves. To snuff it out. I thought. The woman hesitated, her brow furrowed. I thought we could escape, but they're more powerful than I realized. Madeline's mind raced with new fear. What do we do? We can't stay here forever. As if in response, the bulb flickered wildly, casting twisted shadows across the room. Madeline hugged her arms around herself, sensing an unsettling chill creep in. Listen, the woman urged, eyes scanning the dark corners. We have to find another way out. This place, it's not safe. Suddenly, there was a dull thud against the door, followed by a low, guttural growl that made the very air vibrate. Madeline's stomach plummeted as she looked at the woman. The cracks in their resolve began to show. Why can't we just leave? Madeline pleaded. We can't go out there. Not like this. Her voice trailed off, knowing what came next. Madeline pressed her back further against the door, adrenaline battling against despair. The air thickened with fear, and the whispers grew into a cacophony, a haunting chorus of lost souls, pleading for rescue or dragging her into darkness. The growling grew louder, closer, and suddenly, there was silence. Whatever is out there, it knows we're here, the woman whispered, her eyes wide with terror. Madeline felt the weight of inevitability sink in. We have to face it, whatever it is, she said steadily, though her heart pounded like a drum. We have to fight. As the silence stretched uncomfortably, Madeline understood. Each moment became an eternity, and she could almost hear the ticking clock of their fate. But just then, a soft, childlike giggle echoed through the shadows, breaking the tension like a shard of glass. Madeline, come play with us. It whispered, chilling her to the bone. Madeline exchanged a panicked glance with the woman, the fear palpable as they both knew whatever that voice belonged to, it wasn't he going to let them go. What awaited them in this sinister game of hide and seek? Madeline's heart raced as the giggle echoed through the cramped space. The voice was laced with a sweetness that felt utterly wrong in the shadowed confines of the storage room. What was that? She gasped, darting her eyes toward the corners, searching for the source of the sound. With her breath shallow, the woman pressed closer to her. I don't know, but it's not safe. We can't let it in. She pulled Madeline deeper into the darkness, shielding her body as if it would somehow make them invisible to whatever was lurking just outside. The atmosphere thickened, pressing against them like a heavy blanket. The giggle echoed again, this time tinged with an unsettling joy. Come play with us, Madeline. It was now accompanied by other voices, soft hums that wrapped around the room like vines, pricking Madeline's mind with dread. Should we? Madeline hesitated, her throat dry with fear. She felt the urge to respond, to engage with that innocent sound. But deeper instincts screamed for her to remain silent and hidden. No. The woman snapped, pinching Madeline's arm. Don't answer. Whatever these things are, they're playing a trick on you. Her voice trembled, rage and fear churning within. We must find a way out. Now. Madeline nodded, forcing her voice steady. Let us look around. They crept away from the door, the floor littered with old crates and reeking of mildew. Their footsteps barely made a sound against the concrete, yet every creak was amplified in the thick silence. Madeline spotted a barred window, the glass fogged up, remnants of the outside world blurred into the darkness. What about there? She whispered, pointing. We never fit. Still, let us check it out, the woman urged, and they maneuvered through the cramped space towards the window. As they neared, a thunderous bang reverberated against the door. The growl returned, low and menacing, reverberating through the walls around them. Madeline's own heart raced to match its tempo, fear gripping her throat. Move! The woman grabbed her wrist, and together they rushed to the barred window. Madeline felt the cold metal under her fingers, the chill biting at her skin. The growling intensified, morphing into a desperate howl, and Madeline felt herself falter. What if they break in? We can't let them, the woman hissed, pushing Madeline against the wall. We have to be quiet. It's hunting. Just then, the indistinct childlike voices burst through once more, but now with a sinister edge. Why won't you come and play, Madeline? We miss you, please stop. Madeline cried out, hot tears pricking her eyes. Leave us alone. In response, the shadows pulsed, and the growling ceased for a breath, leaving an almost unnatural sound of silence. The only sound piercing the quiet was her ragged breath, pulling the suffocating air deep into her lungs. For a terrifying moment, Madeline believed she had broken its spell. But then, a chorus of giggles bubbled up once more, this time layered with an undercurrent of mocking laughter. It danced around them like a cruel wind. Why do they sound so close? Madeline stuttered, panic clawing up her throat, her heart racing against her ribs. They are, the woman replied, her voice tense. We can't stay here or they will find us. We have to push through to the back. The woman turned back toward the door. Barely breathing, Madeline followed her, a knot of fear tangling in her stomach. They could almost feel the malevolence wrapping around them, suffocating their hopes. Then, a crack in the floor, an old, rotting plank. It groaned under their weight. Time stretched as the growling erupted again, this time deeper, more primal, flooding their ears with dread. Just before they could react, the door swung open with a terrifying creak, revealing a figure standing in the doorway, silhouetted against the faint light behind it. Hello, Madeline, it said, the voice low, impossibly familiar. Madeline's blood turned to ice. She was pulled back to a moment she thought forgotten. No, she whispered, holding her breath, suffocating under the weight of recognition. Let us play. What did this spectre want from her? And as her mind reeled, Madeline wondered, could the darkness be the very thing she had known all along? Madeline's breath hitched, and her body froze in place. The silhouette seemed to morph, shadows twisting into something more sinister. Familiarity washed over her, muddled with a thick layer of dread. What do you want? She managed to whisper. The figure stepped closer, the dim light spilling over its face, revealing a wide grin that stretched unnaturally across its lips. Her heart pounded violently, each beat echoing deep in her chest. It's been so long, Madeline. You've forgotten about me. But I haven't forgotten you. Madeline recoiled instinctively, the woman beside her gasping. They had to get out, had to escape this nightmare. Their sanctuary was now a trap. Run! Madeline screamed, shoving the woman forward as she turned to the doorway. But before either of them could escape, the figure lunged, its hands grasping the air with a terrifying swiftness. Madeline's pulse roared in her ears. She propelled herself towards the back of the room, the light receding as shadows dug deeper into the corners. The mocking giggles crescendoed outside, like a carnival of nightmares. Where are you going? The figure taunted, its voice dripping with malice. Madeline felt the floor shift underneath her, holes of decay threatening to swallow her whole. The gnarl of the rotting plank echoed in the stillness. She could feel something inside her unraveling. Stop! She cried, the plea escaping her lips in desperation. Play with us, the voices cooed. It'll be fun, no? The woman yelled, her hands trembling as she tugged at Madeline. This way! They stumbled towards a narrow passage, the air growing tight, constricting like an anaconda. The growl returned, louder now, vibrating through the wall as if it were alive, breathing, hunting. I can't, Madeline gasped, her legs felt heavy like lead. I can't do this. The woman spun around, her eyes wild. You have to. We can't stay here. Madeline locked eyes with the silhouette still edging closer. A wave of nostalgia washed over her, but this wasn't the past, it was something darker. "I want to go home," she screamed, the words ripping from her throat. With a low chuckle, the figure swatted its hand, the air crackling ominously, distorting the light. It felt like a blow, sending Madeline crashing to the ground. Fear gripped her, trapping her as if the very shadows were weighing her down. "Remember, Madeline? Remember the fun we had?" The figure loomed larger, the space closing in, making even the air feel hostile. "I don't want to remember," she sobbed, clawing at the ground for purchase as she fought to rise. The shadows closed around them like hungry jaws, and with every laugh that rang out, another piece of her mind felt torn away. The passage they had entered shuddered, groaning as if protesting against their presence. "Let us play," the figure crooned again, voice thick with glee, as Madeline scrambled to her feet. "Or you'll be left behind. Don't do this," the woman yelled, lunging for the now darkening exit. Madeline's thoughts raced like wildfire. What do we need to do to escape? But as she scanned the room, the oppressive air weighed heavier with every breath. "Come back!" it shrieked. The games have only just begun. In a moment that felt stretched across eternity, Madeline grasped the woman's hand. They had to believe escape was possible. Together, they turned towards the growing darkness ahead, racing toward the unknown, heartbeats matching in panic. But with each step, the laughter faded into a sinister whisper, echoing her own name. Madeline. Just then, the wall beside them cracked open, revealing a shimmering light beyond, a beacon promising freedom or destruction. "Is this it?" Madeline asked, fingers trembling around the edges of hope. "Only one way to find out," the woman said, and with that, they plunged into the blinding light. What secrets awaited them in the depths of that light? Would it free them, or was it just another trap laid by the familiar darkness? Madeline stumbled through the blinding light, her heart racing as the world around her swirled in a chaotic dance of colors. For a fleeting moment, it felt like she was weightless, suspended between realms. But gravity returned harshly, jerking her back to reality. She landed hard on a cold, damp floor, gasping as she blinked away the brightness. The light dimmed, revealing a room draped in shadows, a stark contrast to the radiant energy they had just entered. Dust motes floated in the air, casting eerie shapes that twisted like memories trying to resurface. The walls were weathered and cracked, whispering stories of those who had walked this path before. "Where are we?" the woman gasped, scanning the unfamiliar space, her breath hitching in her throat. "I don't know," Madeline replied, voice shaky. She felt a prickling sense of déjà vu, the atmosphere wrapping around her like an old, unwanted friend. As her eyes adjusted, she noticed strange objects scattered around the room, battered dolls with hollow, staring eyes, old toys frozen in time. With a jolt, she recognized one of the dolls. It looked just like her when she was a girl. "This isn't real," she whispered, fighting the urge to recoil. "It's just a trick. We can't let it get to us," the woman insisted, but doubt crept into her voice suddenly. The floor creaked ominously, startling them both. From somewhere beyond the confines of the room, the laughter returned, a cascading echo that made Madeline's skin crawl. It was darker, more sinister this time, wrapping around her like a tightening noose. "Playtime is never over, not for those who remember," a voice purred from the shadows. Madeline turned, searching the corners for the source, but darkness shrouded everything. She felt a chill slide down her spine. "We need to move," she urged, clutching the woman's hand tighter as they stepped deeper into the room. "Which way?" the woman asked, panic bubbling in her tone. Madeline hesitated. The memories flooded back, games that twisted innocence into something grotesque. "There has to be a door," she muttered, eyes darting, willing something to appear. As if in answer, a door creaked open on the far side, a sliver of darkness beckoning. "Look!" Madeline pointed, hope sparking briefly, but before they could take a step forward, the chilling laughter crescendoed again, echoing across the room. The doll's eyes seemed to glint with malevolence, and they began to sway as if in rhythm to a twisted lullaby. Madeline's heart raced. "They're watching us, we can't stay here." Just then, the doll resembling her began to speak, its voice shrill and mocking. "Remember when you played with us? You left us behind. Now you must choose. Stay and play, or run and risk forgetting everything. The air thickened around them, heavy with the weight of unspoken threats. Madeline felt a panic rise in her throat. "I don't want to play," she yelled back, rage sparking within her. The woman turned to her, eyes wide with fear. "What if it's a trap? What if we'll forget if we leave?" In that moment, the room began to tremble, the floor vibrating beneath them. The shadows flickered ominously as if the very essence of the place was reacting. Madeline grasped the woman's arm. "We can't believe it." With a sudden determination, Madeline dashed toward the door, pulling the woman behind her. Each step felt like a battle against an unseen force, something that wanted them to turn back, to succumb to the whispers of the past. But just as their fingers brushed the doorknob, a sharp pain shot through Madeline's chest. She turned, gasping, realizing too late that the doll had launched itself at them, its tiny hands reaching for her. "Don't leave us!" it shrieked, and a jolt of memory crashed into her, flickering images of laughter mixed with shadows, the things they used to do, the games that once felt innocent. In that moment of vulnerability, she caught one last glimpse of the figure lurking in the shadows, its grin widening, eyes bright with anticipation. "Will you remember me?" Madeline's heart seized as she fought against the flood of her memories threatening to close in. "No!" she cried, wrenching the door open. As the darkness surged forth together, they stepped through, but as the blinding light enveloped them once more, a haunting echo lingered in the air, whispering promises of returns and reminders left unfulfilled. What would they face next? Was this light truly a new beginning, or another prison waiting to latch on? The light enveloped Madeline and the woman, blinding and warm, and then just as quickly as it came, it faded into a palette of muted grays. They found themselves in a long, narrow corridor lined with doors, each one identical and ominous. A low hum filled the space, vibrating against their skin, mixing with the pounding in Madeline's chest. "What now?" the woman whispered, her voice shaky. "I don't know. But we have to keep moving," Madeline said, her mind racing. The echo of the doll's words clung to her like a stubborn shadow. "They'll find us if we stand here." They moved forward cautiously, the floor creaking beneath their feet as if warning them to turn back. Each door seemed to loom taller, seemingly alive with pulsating malice. The laughter lingered, a ghostly taunt threading through the hall, biting at their resolve. Madeline felt compelled to reach for the nearest door, her fingers brushing against the cold metal knob. "Wait!" the woman said, gripping her arm tightly. "What if it's another trap?" Madeline stopped, uncertainty flooding her veins. Traps had cost her dearly before. "We need answers," she insisted, the words escaping her lips before she could reconsider. With a push, she turned the knob and the door swung open, revealing a room drenched in shadows with barely a flicker of light illuminating the corners. Inside, the air was thick, laced with a scent of decay. An old rocking chair sat in the center, slowly swaying back and forth, though no one was visible in the room. "Madeline," the woman started, her voice trembling. "It's fine," Madeline replied, stepping through the threshold despite her heart racing. She felt the pull of the room, urging her deeper. Suddenly, movement caught her eye, and a figure emerged from the dark, a tall shadow with piercing eyes that glimmered like cold steel. "Welcome back," the figure said, a twisted smile spreading across its face. Madeline's pulse raced. "Who are you?" she demanded, instinctively placing herself in front of the woman. "Just an old friend, a keeper of memories," the shadow replied with a voice so smooth it sent shivers down her spine. "You left too soon, but the past has a way of catching up." "Leave us alone," the woman cried, taking a step back. "Alone?" The shadow laughed softly. "But this is your home, isn't it? Here, you're safe, you are loved," it said, each word dripping with chilling intent. Madeline's eyes widened as memories, clear flashes of laughter, love, and innocence flooded back, almost overwhelming her. Bright moments intertwined with darkness, memories interspersed with screams and shadows. "No, it can't be," she whispered, realizing too late the power of the twisted words. "Stay with me," the shadow beckoned, extending icy hands toward them. "No!" Madeline screamed, her voice rising in defiance. This was the trap. This was their prison. With newfound strength, she grabbed the woman's arm and pulled her back, stumbling out of the room. The walls shuddered as they retreated. "Run!" she shouted, determination surging through her limbs. They darted down the corridor, the echo of laughter morphing into a cacophony of cries, pulling them toward the past. Just as they neared what seemed to be an end, a violent force slammed against the door behind them, rattling on its hinges. The shadow was pursuing. "Keep going," Madeline urged, pressing forward, the air growing heavier, suffocating her will to fight. Then came a sudden shift, a door at the end of the corridor swung open, inviting them with a comforting light. "This way!" They dove through, bursting into a new space. The air was electric, crackling with a surge of energy. Madeline's heart soared with hope for just a moment, until her eyes adjusted to see what lay ahead. What they saw made her blood turn cold. A twisted reflection of their old lives sprawled in front of them, their homes, their families, all altered into something grotesque. Madeline turned to the woman, panic washing over them both. "What have we stumbled into?" Behind them, the door burst open, and the chilling laughter boiled into a fevered pitch. Something sinister was closing in. And here was only the beginning. What awaited them now in this hellish imitation of their past? Would they find a way to escape, or were they doomed to relive their nightmares forever? Madeline's heart raced as they stumbled into the bizarre reflection of their past. The hall was filled with distorted, nightmarish versions of familiar places, the air thick with that oppressive, suffocating dread. The walls breathed, shifting under the weight of memories twisted to fit the darkness. "Where are we?" she managed, her voice barely rising above the cacophony of whispers that fluttered through the air like restless spirits. The woman beside her scanned their surroundings, her breath quickening. "It's like a house of horrors, but it's our memories. We have to keep moving or they will trap us here," she urged, a tremor in her tone. Madeline nodded, determination flaring in her heart. "We can't let them win. They're only illusions." They took off, sprinting through the oppressive gloom, each step resonating with echoes of their past lives. Warped and shrill just ahead, Madeline spotted a doorway pulsating with soft light, contrasting sharply against the heavy shadows. "There!" she shouted, tugging the woman toward it, their feet pounding against the cold ground. As they neared, shadows loomed behind them, heavier than the last, hungrily reaching for their fleeing forms. With a final burst of energy, they dove through the door and slammed it shut, leaning against it, gasping in the sudden silence. Inside, the atmosphere lightened momentarily, lifting the weight of despair that pressed down on them. The room was empty, dusty, with walls lined with old photos, each one depicting faces they recognized but distorted into grinning masks of terror. Madeline felt a chill breeze against her skin as the laughter echoed faintly from the other side of the door. They were close. The darkness wouldn't allow them to escape easily. "What now?" the woman asked, grasping at the hope that shimmered faintly in the air. Madeline scanned the room, feeling the pull of memories tangled with fear. "We need to destroy whatever binds us here. We can't let them have any power over us. They want us to remember pain. Let's break the cycle." As she moved towards the photos, she noticed something odd. Each one seemed to hum with energy, whispering secrets, begging for acknowledgement. Closing her eyes, she took a deep breath, summoning courage. "Listen to me," Madeline shouted, voice quaking but resolute. "You are just memories. You do not have power over me. I want to play your game." A flicker of unrest rippled through the room, shadows sputtering as if caught off guard. The photos vibrated, their faces contorting, sowing discord. "Keep going," the woman urged, stepping beside Madeline, her courage bolstered. "We have to fight together." With renewed strength, their combined voices rose in defiance. "We won't live in fear anymore. You can't keep us trapped." The backlash was instantaneous. Shadows shrieked as the walls shuddered, their forms curling inwards, crumbling under the force of their will. Madeline's pulse raced as the light bloomed within them, illuminating the dark corners of their memories, the good, the bad, and everything in between. Together, they lunged toward the walls, hands gripping, and with one final shout, the photographs shattered. Glass scattered like starlight, and the darkness writhed as if desecrated, and just like that, the weight of wrongs shifted. The light engulfed them, blinding yet warm, whispering assurances that they had escaped. Once again, they found themselves standing in a long, quiet hallway, the heavy memories dissolving into gentle echoes. "We did it," Madeline breathed, overwhelmed with a chaotic blend of relief and disbelief. They had wrested back control from whatever malevolent force had gripped their lives for so long. The woman turned, her eyes glistening. "No more games?" "No more games," Madeline echoed, her chest tightening with renewed hope. This time, they would step into their futures free of the past. Stepping outside into the world bathed in sunlight, the shadows shrank behind them, powerless against the light they carried inside, more vital and vibrant than ever before. Madeline smiled, breathing in deeply. "Let us go home." And with those words, hand in hand, they walked away from the hotel, from the past, ready to live under the sun again, fully alive and finally free. The story that haunted them faded into mere whispers as they turned toward a future bright with promise, and as they vanished into the horizon, the darkness lingered only as a ghostly reminder of the strength they had found within themselves and that no memory could ever steal what truly mattered. But wait. Before you leave, this is your moment to show your support. You need to subscribe immediately to the channel so you don't miss out on the next exclusive stories we have in store. And listen. Smash that like button now to pump us up with the algorithm. Every click counts. Flood the comment section with your reactions and theories about this intense conclusion. What do you think will happen next? I want to hear all your thoughts, and don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion. Only true fans understand how important it is to support the channel through these actions.